Hello crafty friends, welcome to another card making video. Today we're going to make some New Adventures, New Horizons cards, and the idea for that came from this rubber stamp. I don't know the manufacturer, it was a charity shop find, but it's got a beautiful vintage map feel about it. So I started by inking it up with some sticky embossing ink, and then I pressed a piece of mixed media paper down onto it. I'd previously gone over the bit of paper with some talcum powder to remove any static moisture or grease. Once I'd given it a good press down to get that image transferred really well, I removed the card and then sprinkled over some superfine gold embossing powder. I then heated it with my heat tool and let it cool down before moving on to the next step. And the next step was to add some colour. I wanted to add blues and greens and a bit of yellow, kind of colours that you'd see on a map, but I didn't want to go to the effort of trying to colour in the sea blue and the land green or yellow or whatever. So I decided to smush. I started with Stormy Sky Distress Oxide, smushed it all over the sea and the land. I then added some bundled sage, which is a kind of muted green, and then a little bit of scattered straw, which is a duller yellow. It's not really bright. And these to me are mappy colours. I gave it all a really good dry with my hairdryer and then buffed over it with a clean microfiber cloth to get any ink off of the gold heat embossing. And then I die cut some postage stamps from it. But I didn't cut the whole postage stamp shape. I wanted just the rectangle in the middle because my idea was to cut full postage stamps out of white card and then put the rectangle of map in the middle where the image or the stamp would be. You'll see what I mean in a tick. To stick them together, I used high-tack white glue, which just gave me a little bit of wiggle time to get them in exactly the place that I wanted. I did manage to get 3 of these fairly large postage stamps out of my background, and I used them to make 3 cards, putting 1 on each card. So my first card, I placed my postage stamp a third of the way down in the middle of the card, and I used my T-square ruler to make sure it was on straight. For my next card, I trimmed off one of the short edges and stuck it on the top right of the card blank about a third of the way down again, with that cut edge of the postage stamp flush against the edge of the card. And for the third card, I stuck the postage stamp towards the bottom left of the card about a third of the way up and a third of the way in, the centre point a third of the way in, if you see what I mean. I did have a little bit of background left, so I found a small postage stamp die and cut myself 5 little postage stamps, which I put on another card blank in a column down the left-hand side of the card. And that gave me 4 cards to embellish and add sentiments to. In keeping with the map theme, I thought I would die cut some signposts. And I've got this little signpost die, and I thought I'd use that on 1 card. I cut it out twice from craft coloured cardstock because I wanted to piece my die cuts together to create a layered look, to create a sense of depth. I dissected one of the die cuts, added glue to the other die cut, and then took an arrow and placed it on top of the arrow. And then I took the ground mound and placed that on top of the ground mound on the bottom die cut. So I've got this layered looking die cut. I then added glue to the back and placed it on this card in the bottom left, pointing right into the white space of the card. For the next card, I wanted to build my own signpost, so I took a selection of arrow dies and die cut out 3 arrows, 3 different size, 3 different style arrows. And then I took a strip of the brown cardstock and glued my arrows on. I did put these at jaunty angles to give a bit of energy to the card, to imply a bit of movement. I started with the big arrow at the top and then worked my way down in sizes. I snipped off the top of the post and added glue to the back with my glue spreader and then placed it over to the left hand side. For the third card, again, I created my own signpost and I didn't use any dies at all for this. I cut 3 strips of the craft cardstock in different widths. Then I just used scissors to cut the ends into pointy bits. It doesn't matter if they're not perfectly symmetrical, it can add to the rustic look of the signposts. Again, I stuck them at jaunty angles on another strip of the cardstock, which I stuck on top of the other postage stamp. I think it's worth mentioning that I chose craft coloured cardstock because I wanted something brown to kind of go with the gold, but I wanted it solid so that it stood out against the busy background of the postage stamp. Right, onto the last card now, and all I did for this was add a thin strip of the craft cardstock on top of the postage stamps, offset slightly to the left. I then added a higgledy-piggledy arrangement of arrows, one on each postage stamp. And then it was time to add some sentiments. We've got a "you passed" for someone who's just passed their driving test, a happy retirement for someone who's going off on a retirement adventure, a best wishes, which is suitable for any kind of going on an adventure occasion, and a new job stamp. And I stamped that straight on the signpost just for something a bit different. And there you go, all 4 cards done. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's given you some ideas. If it has, do let me know in the comments. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. And I'll see you back here very soon for another video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.